I've been a 3D artist for the last 15 years, working in the games industry for the last 8 years, and it's about time I gave 3D printing a try, so I got my hands on this X1 Carbon. I'm not going to go through a whole unboxing thing because I've already unboxed it and I don't want to put it back in the box, and there's already plenty of YouTube videos out there unboxing 3D printers. So I'm going to just go straight into actually trying to make something because I don't really want to download everything off MakerWorld. So I've managed to go through my whole 3D career so far using 3ds Max, and it's only recently that I've started learning Blender. So I thought something simple would be a good place to start, and I quite like steampunk things, so I thought I'd make a little steampunk gear for this tea light. To start I used the cylinder, and then I hollowed out the middle. I also tapered the edge just in case I could have a bit more tolerance for the tea light itself and I could push it into the model. And then I was just using the extrude tool and scaling to try and make out the kind of gear shape. I was also adding the edge loops with the quick loop tool and more extruding. I did forget how to select every other face, because I'm sure you can do that, so I'll have to work on how to do that. And then another thing I wanted to do was add in a little groove in the top so that I could possibly press in another part on top, build something up like that, rather than doing everything as one whole print. I also like to experiment with just making stuff you can actually connect together, like building things up. And then the last thing on this model, because it was pretty small, I needed to make it a bit taller because the tea light itself was about 2 centimeters tall and my model started out not being that tall. And then after that I was just adding in the edges that I wanted to be sharper. So when I was subdividing, if you just blanket subdivide, it's going to be all mushy, but Blender actually lets you decide how much crease you want on each edge, which is really nice, because in Max I would just have to add extra loops to support the geometry, so this is much simpler to do. And then once I had the shape that I wanted, save it out, and remember not to export the whole scene and just what I wanted selected, and then it was off to the slicer. So after exporting as an STL, making sure it was only exporting what I wanted it to, and making sure that my scale was correct, which was a strange thing, then there wasn't really a lot else to do. I didn't really have to change the settings. Gave it a quick look around, cheeky spin, and then it was printing. So I've edited the design a little bit. Unfortunately the tea light wasn't really quite tight enough, so it was quite easy to knock out. So I've decreased the size of this inner hole a bit, added a bit more of this lip so that'll hopefully just catch the tea light and hopefully keep it held in place easier. I also added a bit more of a thicker groove in here so that I've got some more space to work with for adding another part to it on top, and hopefully that slots in well. And then just change the design of the kind of spikes a little bit because I wasn't quite happy with how they were originally. So I'm going to just select this, export it as a STL, not an FEX. I'm going to do selection only, because if I don't, it's going to export everything in the scene, which I do not want. So now just all it has to do is import, and there we go. So what I have changed is the amount of infill I've got in here. I've turned it down to 2% because it's tiny. So if I slice it, you can still see that it's got some of the support kind of, and then I can hit print. I did it in draft mode, so I think the quality could have been a little bit better, but considering how small it is, I think it's really nice. And this metallic PLA was a really good choice because I think it really fits the steampunk style I was going for. My tea light just slots in there perfectly, which is fantastic, and that is very satisfying. That's almost as satisfying as seeing something I just sketched out a few days ago. If you enjoyed watching me go from sketch to 3D model to 3D print, then I'll be making something a little more useful next time.